What's up, Internet? I got some Cataclysm beta for you today. I'm going to take a look at how Death Knights work now in the beta. Blizzard announced a while back that they're changing the way that runes work, and I thought it was a little bit confusing the way they described it, and a lot of people were kind of wondering what it would look like. So I thought I would take some time to check it out for myself and maybe hopefully try and clear things up for anyone who hasn't been playing around with it themselves or just reading every bit of information they can on the upcoming changes. This is probably a change that's going in for patch 4.0.1 as well, so expect to see this stuff pretty soon. Anyways, this right here is actually my Death Knight on live. I just want to give sort of a comparison point to what things look like now compared to what they will look like in the very near future. So as you can see, I'm ridiculously undergeared here, and I'm just spec dual wield frost. That's kind of my spec. So let's get things started here. Horn of Winter. Let's just start DPSing, get our diseases up. And the way it is now, of course, each rune has its own individual 10-second cooldown. So no matter what you do, each rune is going to be down for a maximum of 10 seconds. Our rotation is fairly rigid, and there's basically just not a whole lot of room to vary from it a whole lot. We're constantly pressing buttons, and basically the slightest thing screwing it up will throw off your entire rotation. I don't claim to be particularly good at this. You'll have to excuse me if I screwed up a bit. Let's just go one more rotation here. And leave it there. So, pretty simple stuff. I think anyone who plays a Death Knight knows how that all works these days. 3.4k DPS for what that's worth. There's the damage breakdown if you're interested in that kind of stuff. Okay, so let's hop on over to beta. Okay, so here we are now on the beta. Everything should be pretty much the same. Almost the exact same gear setup. Let's see here. Throw that on just to make it the same. Still dual wield frost. So let's take a look at how things work now. So if we use one rune, we get 10-second cooldown. Let's see if we can fix up the way that displays real quick. Okay. But if we use it twice, you can see that the second rune has its cooldown increased by 10 seconds. So technically, it's like that rune doesn't start cooling down until the first rune is done. So the first rune cools down 10 seconds, and then the 10-second cooldown on the second rune starts. So let's see here. And it's divided by rune type. So Frost rune, Unholy rune, those can cool down in parallel, but the second rune of each type cools down sequentially. it doesn't start cooling down. The 10 seconds cooldown on the second rune doesn't start until the first rune is done. So let's see how that works in practice. Keep in mind I have no idea how to do this on beta. Born in Winter, Diseases, Sugar, Frost Strike, Obliterate, Allen Blast. Now, first most obvious thing here is that there's quite a bit more room in the rotation for whatever you want to do, really. Which is kind of nice. Everything's just a lot slower. And you can almost just like take your time and think about what the best way to go about things is. Kind of look forward, see, okay, so if I use my runes like this now, what's it gonna look like? At first I was kind of concerned that the rotation would be very uneven, just because the only thing we have to use unholy runes for in this particular rotation is Obliterate. But using the blood runes, turning them into unholy runes, and kind of use those as extra frost runes to offset the frost runes that you need, because you need to use way more frost runes in the rotation. So use the unholy runes to offset it, and it's all good. So looks like DPS is down a little bit. The damage breakdown is a little bit different, but the damage meter I'm using also records things a little bit differently. Like, you can see that Frost Strike is broken down per weapon, the same as Blood Strike and Plague Strike. But that's just kind of irrelevant, really. I mean, I have no idea what I'm doing. My gear is horrible. The important thing is, how does the runes change? Personally, I kind of like the way that they work now. It's, if you're the type that really likes the fast pace, hammering a button every 1.5 seconds no matter what, and if you don't do it right, then the world falls apart, then you might not like the way things have changed. But personally, being able to kind of take half a second to think about what you're doing, consider your options, see if there's any procs, use those procs. I mean, in particular, Rhyme is actually something you want to use like every time it's available now, and it's not going to actually be a DPS loss. I remember when I actually played my Death Knight as a main, Rhyme was something you pretty much took only because it increased the crit chance of other abilities, and people actually had cancel aura macros to remove the freezing fog proc. That's definitely not something you're going to do now, because there's actually room in your rotation to use procs, and that's the important thing. The rotation is much more open. Things are a little bit slower, but for the most part, really, it doesn't feel like you're doing a whole lot of waiting. There's just the rotation is a lot more kind of flexible. It's not kind of a standard, Icy Touch, Plague Strike, Obliterate, Blood Strike, Blood Strike. rune power dump, obliterate, 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 rune power dump kind of idea. I know Frost uses a priority system, but that's more or less what your rotation ends up looking like anyways. So take from that what you will. It might be a little bit different for different specs, of course, but the idea should be the same, that your runes regenerate a little bit slowly. The second rune has basically an extra 10-second cooldown added on top of it. So yeah, there you go. Cataclysm Death Knights. Enjoy.